Hello and welcome to another episode of the Frankly Leader podcast. And I am so happy today to have this episode to share with you. Hetty Stock, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much.
I'm so excited. So for people listening or watching to this, Hetty and our paths crossed a year ago when we both stepped forward to be co-chairs for York Climate Commission, which is a very different leadership position.
Yeah, it is. It certainly is. Yeah, it was fantastic. I feel really lucky to have met you, Jennifer. So it's great.
Oh, me too. And for people out there that don't know Hetty, let me just give you a little introduction. So Hetty also lives in the city of York, like I do. She's an energy engineer, a mother of three. She's a co-chair for York Climate Commission and generally trying to make the world a better place. That is my favourite introduction of a podcast interviewee yet.
It does summarise what I'm trying to do, really. I'm not entirely sure what it is, but it is trying to make the world a better place, really. I mean, that's kind of what motivates and drives me.
Yeah, and then I mean, I think when I think about the role that you do, because you're for me, what I would describe you as is a sustainability professional, like you're leading change for the good of sustainability, which I think is one of the hardest leadership jobs there is out there at the moment, beyond maybe being a politician.
Yeah, and I feel quite lucky because having an engineering background, it is possible to actually work in the detail of trying to make change. I think sometimes it's quite challenging. Lots of people are really engaged in trying to improve sustainability, and I can actually do something sort of on that technical side, the actual energy reduction, the carbon reduction, and in that way I feel quite lucky that I can do that in my job, and I can also do it voluntarily in a kind of more holistic way through things like York Climate Commission. So I feel like I have a good combination of things that I do, which are all sort of helping to drive that change.
Yeah, brilliant. And obviously this podcast it's about leadership primarily, and what is it really like to be a leader, like the warts and all of being a leader, so that we demystify some of the myths. But it's also about trying to raise the profile for what organisations and businesses need to be doing to put people and planet alongside profit. So I'm really thrilled that we've got a sustainability professional in the show, and I'm excited to get into this. But I want to start at the beginning. So one of the questions I ask people is, when you were young, did you ever dream about being a leader when you grew up?
And my answer is very much no. I didn't want to be a leader. And I think, when you suggested this question, I was thinking, what did I want to be when I grew up? I mean, I absolutely wanted to play music. I wanted to be in a pit band in the theatre. It's the most fun you can have as a musician ever. And I guess it's that part of being part of a team, and probably a bit of the pressure that comes with that kind of role I also like. And that definitely is something that I still have. I enjoy that solving problems in the moment, but definitely the part of being part of a team. And I was remembering that I was probably about 14 and we studied Lord of the Flies at school. And I was thinking about this because it's been on TV recently. They've done a version of it. I really didn't like the book, and I'm not sure that you're meant to really like it, because it really exposes what humanity is really like. Yeah. And I can remember our teacher saying, if this class was stranded on an island, who would take the lead? And everybody said me, and I was just horrified, absolutely horrified. I wouldn't want to be responsible for everyone else. And, it does make you quite exposed if you're trying to lead. You feel like you're trying to do the right thing for everybody, but other people don't necessarily agree with your view of what is the right thing for everyone. It's quite a difficult position to be in. And I definitely didn't see that as an appealing thing to do when I was younger. Absolutely would rather just be part of the team. I think my view on that has obviously changed over time, but maybe because my view on what is a leader has probably slightly changed. It doesn't have to be, the Prime Minister, the one person up at the front who is, the most important and the highest paid. Actually, leading is something that everybody's doing all of the time in little bits and pieces. And in that way, you can very much be a leader within a team and be working with other leaders who are also sort of leading in their area and leading on the work they're doing. But you're collaborating as a team to actually achieve what you're trying to do as a team. And I think from that point of view, that's leadership that I really enjoy. And so I think my perspective and my understanding of what is a leader has changed, which is why I don't find it quite so alarming as maybe I did when I was younger.
I was going to make some really crass remark about Lord of the Flies then as well, but I'm not going to. So tell us where did it all begin for you? So what was kind of like your first leadership role, and how was that?
Yeah, I mean, again, I think because we're always leading all of the time, all of us, it's quite difficult to pinpoint a start. I mean, I certainly remember I worked at the Carbon Trust many years ago now, and I certainly felt like they gave me an opportunity to lead, because they recruited me because they had a challenge with engaging industrial businesses into into the work that they were doing and trying to get them involved in energy efficiency activity and so on. And they really just gave me that open kind of like, here's the challenge, what can you do? And that I really enjoyed, being able to take that problem and kind of break it down and speak to lots of people and understand what it is that's going on in these different industries. What are their challenges? Why is it that they don't want to get involved or don't have the time to get involved? It's not a priority for them. And trying to come up with a solution that they could engage with. And I felt like, I was absolutely not a leader in that organization in the traditional sense, but, I was given that opportunity to take the lead on this piece of work and really drive it forward. And I think that probably was my first experience of saying, yeah, okay, I'm going to lead on this. I'm accountable for this. And, I'm going to go and understand what the problem is and work out how to solve this. And I think I see that with lots of others now as well, is that, that is leadership when people are working autonomously, they're taking responsibility and accountability, and they're getting out there and they're solving the problems that come along, and they're being resilient to that. And that's, I think, the thing that, strikes me about leadership is that it isn't about the person at the top of the organization. It's about all of those people out there who are, doing a good job and, sort of setting an example to others and inspiring others and supporting others. That's kind of leadership as well. So I think for me, that's kind of, that's how it sort of came about, I guess.
Yeah, and I love that because we say, frankly, leaders aren't born. We say that leaders actually are lurking everywhere in your organisation. And in fact, everyone in an organisation has the potential to be leaderful. And you don't have to be in a formal leadership position to be leading. I mean, it would be my dream to see organisations giving leader development to everybody in an organisation, because you would then be resourcing people to be everything that you just said, to be autonomous, to be collaborative, to take people on a journey with you. So yeah, I love that. I love that there's that concept of leaders everywhere.
I think that's absolutely right. And I think traditionally we sort of associate leadership with managing other people, and they're two different things. And they don't have to be linked. And I see that too, that we talk about leadership as how you manage other people, but that's not what it is at all. And there are some great leaders who maybe don't have a team underneath them, and they're out there leading the way and setting the direction and setting a great example to others, mentoring others. That's all leadership activity. And I think, as you say, there's a real opportunity with all of those great leaders in an organization to be able to help that organization, rather than it just being the few people who are also line managers.
Yeah, I would agree. And I think the other aspect of that makes me think about, maybe more in the climate change space where you and I are connected with the Commission, is that like when we as individuals think that there are leaders, we can give our power away to another and expect them to be the adult or be the one with power and have all the decisions to make and all the autonomy and the authority. And actually when that leadership is shared, everybody becomes more empowered. Everyone feels more sense of agency. Everyone kind of like you step in a little bit more, don't you, rather than leaning out and letting someone else look after things.
Mm-hmm.
I think we need a little bit more of that, particularly in the climate change space, but in life in general too.
Yeah, it's definitely one that has to be solved collaboratively, doesn't it? Because climate change is impacting everybody, so everybody is going to need to collaborate, and on a global scale, there needs to be collaboration. So the idea of ever trying to organise something to tackle climate change that's not in a collaborative way, to me is baffling, because it's got to be a collaborative effort. There's got to be shared responsibility and shared decision making.
Yeah, agree. So this concept of leadership then, like what, if anything, do you enjoy about being in a leader role?
I mean, it is working with others. That's the thing that I enjoy. I really enjoy our co-leadership of the Climate Commission because we're doing that together. And actually, I think that that's stronger and better. And I feel that, working with other people and, in the example of the Climate Commission, I think our skills and backgrounds are quite complementary. They're different and complementary. And I think that just helps me to be better myself, to be working with someone else who's got skills that I don't have and I can learn from. I think leadership is learning all the time. You've got to keep learning from other people. For me, it's definitely I enjoy collaborating. I enjoy learning. I enjoy the challenge, working out how to solve a problem, and helping others to solve that problem and to find a way forward. But definitely collaborating with other people is the thing I enjoy.
Yeah, I've been really curious about the kind of shared CEO role is popular in charity land and third sector. It's becoming more popular there. And I'm wondering when it's going to cross over into more commercial organisations. So it's been really great to have a lived experience of sharing a senior leadership role in that sense in the commission and being co-chairs. Like you, I've thoroughly enjoyed it, not least because I think one of the benefits for me that I've noticed is how it enhances the quality of decision making, because you get that critical, we're kind of critically challenging, we're aligned to the purpose that we're working on, but we're critically challenging our thinking together. So it kind of sharpens the decisions that get made. And obviously in the commission, we don't have a lot of resource and we're all volunteers. So we have to be really sharp about how we work.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. Yeah. And as you say, it's that challenge. I don't want to be a leader where I'm out there making all the decisions because I'm not always right. And I would much rather have people who are able to challenge that, make me think differently about things and open my mind to different thoughts. That makes me feel more confident actually in what I'm doing, is that it's been challenged and I've tested my way of thinking, rather than just, we're all going to do it my way and I've got all the answers. I just don't believe that. So yeah, absolutely agree. It's about challenging and I like sharpening up kind of our approach.
So that was what do you enjoy? So on the flip side, what are the things that you find most challenging in the realm of leadership and being a leader?
Yeah, I think it is about sort of expectations and other people's expectations of you as a leader, but I think probably also my own expectations of myself is part of the challenge. Having that sense of responsibility and always kind of worrying that you're not doing enough. But I think that is why actually it's not so bad when you are part of a team where you do have other leaders alongside you, where you've got other people to challenge you and to give you confidence and help you to learn. If you're part of that supportive, collaborative team, then it's not so hard. But I do think sometimes if you feel a bit isolated from that, then it can be very difficult, because that's when there are always these expectations. Am I doing the right thing? Am I making the right decision? I need to keep up with this all the time. Something to do. Being able to be reminded to step back sometimes as well, I think is really useful. But again, that to me comes from this kind of collaborative leadership. Leadership doesn't have to be a solo thing. I think leadership can be a collaborative thing, and then it's a lot easier.
Yeah, it's fascinated me. The topic that gets talked about the most in this podcast by people is the loneliness of leadership.
Yeah, I think that's true. If you're leading on your own and all the expectations are on you, I think that can be very hard. And I think that's what, as when I was younger, that's what I thought a leader was, and therefore did not particularly want to be in that position. Now I see that actually that's not how leadership has to be. It can be in a supportive team. I think that actually then that can be really enjoyable, because you can be a better leader as part of that team. And that's great. That's really exciting to know that you're always learning more and pushing yourself more and being better. That's a great feeling, but it does come from being part of a team, I think.
Yeah, and that's a win for everybody, isn't it? Not
Absolutely.
just you as a leader.
Yeah. And it always surprises me when just sometimes you do come across people who are trying to compete as leaders, and I find that I feel very uncomfortable about that. I don't like that kind of competitive approach to it. I don't find it helpful personally, and it's sort of quite contrasting to the kind of type of leadership that I would certainly want to have.
Yeah, and I don't think that competitive leadership brings about the best decisions. I think
No.
ego gets pulled into it too much because of that need to compete. And I think once the ego starts to take over, and it becomes an I thing rather than a we thing,
Yeah.
you start making decisions that aren't for the good of all. And I don't think in this day and age you can be in a leadership position and not be prioritizing making decisions for the good of all.
Yeah. Yeah, no, completely agree.
So what's been your biggest lesson? What's been the biggest thing that you've learned that you could pass on to other people here?
I've certainly learned a lot from other people from their leadership. And I think that's both good and bad. I've had some fantastic leaders that I've worked with and continue to work with. And I've had some leaders who are maybe not as good at leadership. And I think you can learn from all of that. I think for me, it's about, leading is a job in itself, taking the time to be present with other people, to listen to them, to support them, to find out what their challenges are, to share your opinion and to allow them to challenge you. And, that is the job, that you have to have time for that. You can't sort of do it on the side and say, well, I'm a leader because I have a team but I'm busy doing this job, and then the leadership thing just sort of happens automatically. It doesn't, and you do have to take the time to let it happen. And if you don't take the time, then that sends a message in itself. And I think that can be really unhelpful then in terms of other people and helping them to perform at their best if they feel that they're not valued because you don't have the time as a leader to listen to them and value their opinion on what you're doing and things. Then I think that can be really damaging. So for me, it is about accepting that leadership does take time and is a thing that you have to do rather than it just happens by the nature of your position in an organization. I think for me, that's kind of the main thing is allowing time for leadership.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. And I'm asking everybody on this podcast to talk about how many conversations they're having around climate change in their leadership position. And I'm kind of chuckling to myself as I ask this because you're in a climate, you are in a climate role, so you must be
Yeah.
talking climate day in, day out. So I'm
Yeah.
curious about what you're noticing, like what are the kind of like themes that you're noticing at the minute around climate change in leadership or in the workplace, and that'd be useful for people to hear about.
Yeah, pretty much 100% of my conversations are about climate change, whether that's in the workplace or in voluntary role, it's all about climate change. But yeah, certainly it is something that people are talking about more. I'm very lucky that I work in that role and I work for an organization that value tackling climate change. And so it is a conversation that people have. It's actually something that's part of everybody in the objectives. They have to have an objective related to sustainability. So it's absolutely embedded from that point of view. I think it is becoming more normal to be saying, yeah, do you know what, we're putting money into tackling climate change. We are trying to decarbonize our offices. Yes, it doesn't look like there's a financial return right now, but there are lots of other benefits alongside financial return, and those are increasingly valued. And I think that's kind of really important as well. And I feel very lucky to be able to do that. I think it does vary. Then obviously the nature of the climate change conversations I'm having in the workplace are very different from the nature of the climate change conversations I'm having in a role with York Climate Commission. And I think it is quite technical in the workplace in terms of energy costs, energy efficiency, and the carbon impacts of that. The engineering that needs to be done in order to solve the problem. And it's a very specific problem around carbon. In York Climate Commission and kind of, I'd say in the outside world with normal people who are just going about their lives, it's much broader than that. And it is about community and health and well-being and the kind of broader aspects that aren't just measured by carbon. But I think that's natural because as a business, you need to be doing things that are measurable. And so carbon is a big driver. In the wider world, that isn't something that most people relate to. And we have to engage people in conversations, about what matters to them. And that may well be air quality and health and things like that, and get about the city and access things. And it may be about jobs and employment and things like that. And so it's a kind of quite different conversation, and people are at different stages from that point of view in terms of how much of a priority it is, how much time they have to be able to prioritize thinking about sustainability.
Yeah. And then I guess just bringing it back into like a business context for this next question that builds on this, because I'm with you on all of that. Like what do you think and what do you hear or see either in your organisation or other organisations that you work with? What are the things that are getting in the way with organisations taking more steps towards climate change, doing the right thing for climate change? What do you think are the barriers businesses particularly, are coming across?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's all about politics, really, and kind of short-term thinking and popularity contests, that kind of thing. Um, we struggle in York as a commission with kind of local politics. I think businesses more broadly struggle a bit with national politics. Politicians are always thinking about the next election and what they need to do to stay in power, and that can be rightly so. But it does mean that we're not making the longer term changes that are really needed. I think we need to get into a place where we are putting more weight onto science and fact and not kind of opinion polls. And I think we saw that during COVID, that humans are inherently kind of selfish, aren't they? But we did manage to address the challenge that COVID presented at the time. And and we did sort of bring science to the forefront and say, this is what has to happen. It's not going to be popular, but we've got to do it. And I think we need more of that with climate change. We do need more regulation in many ways. I think it's quite unrealistic to expect either businesses or individuals to do the right thing when you're saying it's a choice. At the end of the day, it has to be the easy, the obvious thing for people to do, rather than having to make some sort of choice or some sort of compromise in order to do the right thing. And I think that's the role of government, is to try and make it so that it's easy and the right thing to do, rather than making people have a choice, whether that's businesses or individuals. And so I think that is a big barrier, is the fact that, it's all about popularity and not about what needs to happen longer term.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that answer. So thinking about bringing this back to kind of leaders and leadership, and thinking about the qualities, behaviours, skills that a leader needs to be able to navigate the complexity of leading in this time in history that we're leading, where there is a very real threat of climate change and how that's going to impact us. What do you think are those skills that leaders need to be really focused and honing in on to be able to navigate that well?
Yeah, I mean, and I think it is about collaboration, being able to collaborate, not seeing it as a competition or a popularity contest, but genuinely believing that we can do better if we're collaborating with others and we're learning from others and we're challenging others. And I think that's a really important leadership skill. I think you've also got to be really resilient, because nothing ever goes right first time, does it? Or it doesn't quite happen how you want it to happen. And you've got to be able to just go, yeah, do you know what? That didn't work as I expected it to, and I'm going to go at it again and try it differently. And, have the courage to do that, and to be able to say, yeah, it didn't work out this time. We're going to try something else. So, yeah, I think it's kind of courage, resilience, but being collaborative as well, I think are really key sort of skills.
Yeah, I love those. So I ask everyone to give me a question that I should be asking that's not already on the list, and I really love yours. So you say climate change can be overwhelming, leadership can be exhausting, and if you're not in the right environment, quite lonely, which we've talked about already. So how do you keep yourself back from the edge of the cliff? So as with always, I want to know what your answer would be to that question.
Yeah, and I was thinking about that, and I think it is about stepping back every now and again, allowing yourself time away from the leadership role, allowing others to take that role for a bit, and you to be able to step back from it. I mean, physically for me, it means things like I love to go, outdoors, somewhere like the Lake District, take a long hike, like really be exposed to sort of the weather, if you see what I mean. Like there's something quite real about that makes you think, do you know what? I'm just a really small part of this huge world and this huge environment. And, you can sort of step back from that feeling of being overwhelmed. So that's the kind of thing I like to do. But it is about being able to just, whatever it is that gives you a break, it's being able to give yourself permission to do that, take that break, let somebody else take the leadership for a while, and that helps give you the energy then and the thinking space to be able to come back fresh and and go again and keep leading.
Yeah, I think that's really important, that sense of leading from a resourced place. Like that, so many leaders are leading from a burnt out place at the moment, and I think like that again, it's going to negatively affect your decision making and your capacity to bring people on the journey with you. So what can we do to really replenish and resource ourselves to be able to lead well? I love that. Final question. Final question. If you could have any job in the world, what would it be?
Yeah, and definitely I would still quite like to play in a pit band in a theatre. But yeah, I mean, I don't think I have the skill set to be able to do that, unfortunately. I'm pretty happy with what I do right now, but I do see it as a combination of different roles that I have. I do have a paid job, which I really enjoy, find really challenging, work with some great people, feel like I'm really delivering change that is relevant to tackling climate change. But I also really enjoy the voluntary role as co-chair of York Climate Commission. I think that's giving me an opportunity to develop skills and knowledge that I don't get elsewhere, and to contribute to the local community that I live in. So for me, I kind of see my job as a combination of different things that I do and different roles that I have, some of which are paid and some of which are sadly unpaid. But it is that combination that I think I'm learning new things, I'm working with different people, I'm delivering impact. Those are kind of all the things that me feel satisfied at the end of the day.
Yeah, I love that. And I just want to say that I absolutely love working alongside you as co-chairs. Like, I am reassured to have your wisdom from a sustainability perspective next to me, but also like just really enjoying the way that we're finding a way to bring our complementary skills together.
Yeah.
And I think we're definitely better together than for me anyway, personally, would be on my own.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and it's
no,
joy.
yeah, definitely. I completely agree. And I think it's a great example to businesses of how job shares can really work, can really
Yeah.
bring a better outcome from having people who bring complementary skill sets and complementary experiences together. Because absolutely, I completely respect all the skills that you have, which I don't have, and I'm very aware of those. And I think I've learned a lot from you already, and I'm sure I will continue to do so as we progress in our roles.
No, it's been brilliant. I've loved talking to you. Thank you so much for giving your
Well,
time
thank you,
and coming
Jennifer.
to talk. I think this is just such a nourishing conversation for people and really resourcing as well about, the way that we need to shift our perspective on leadership. So thank you. Like, seriously, thank you from the
Thank
bottom of
you.
my heart.
Thank you, Jennifer. It's been great to speak to you.